Hola, SAP developers. Welcome to this session, part of the Devops 2023 integration track. Before we start, I just want to let you know to please feel free to drop us your questions on the chat window, as we will be monitoring it and we will answer your questions there. This session kicks off the topic related to tools for integration developers. Today, we have Daniel, who is an integration expert and product owner part of Figaf, an SAP partner. And he will tell us about how you can use tools from Figaf as part of your development process. Without any further delay, hola, Daniel, over to you.
Thank you, and thanks for having me here on this session. Obviously, it's always good to talk with fellow developers and understanding and trying to give my idea about how to make it easier for you to develop SAP integration. And obviously, if you're here, you probably know that integration is our topic, and I guess this is also what we see with this Devops Fest, that there's a whole track, a whole day each 4 times for where we cover these things. So I will share a little about how our vision in Figaf is to make it easier for you to deliver SAP integrations. And there's also another session coming up later on. We'll cover that about migration. But for now, the focus is how do you become a better or faster integration developer? The thing I want to be covering is how do we actually create a test-driven development, why you want to do it. We'll go into some hardcore coding. Obviously, when we talk about integration, it is not often that we get into the real large coding projects. We'll talk about DevOps and governance, and then we'll go to how to get started with this. And yeah, if you have questions along the way, just put them into the chat and I'll try to cover those. And if I forget them, then yeah, put them at the end. There should also be some time for some Q&A there. So what is Figaf? So we are a company that focus on making tools to make the life easier for SAP integration developers. It is one tool that covers all the needs that you have in your integration projects. We started out building a test tool. We add a lot of governance features. And we also added a PI to Integration Suite migration capability some time ago, making it easier for customers to move in this direction. Since we're talking about integration, obviously, you know that there is the Open SAP Course that is taking place now. I think this is a good place to get to understand what is actually going on in the SAP community, and understand what is actually the topics on integration suites, what it is and what it can do. So I'll not go more into details about it because I guess you already know it, but it's a good place to also start about understanding what's going on. So one of the challenge that I often feel or meet when I talk with developers is that they are swamped with different projects. They have a lot of different projects that are going on and need to be very about these things. So it is about defining the architecture. It is about specifying new integration. It's understanding APIs. There's a lot of different these tasks that integration developers need to figure out how do we actually work with these scenarios. And this means that our focus as integration developers becomes challenging, and we don't really know, or we need to focus on all these things, and this makes our life a lot more challenging. I created the survey this week, and as you can see here, there's a lot of customers that have a lot of, only 1/3 do not feel that they are overwhelmed with this. So this is, yeah, obviously you need to take these LinkedIn surveys with some grain of salt. But the main focus is there's a lot of projects, and we need to make the tools so it is easier and enabling you to deliver this integration faster. And I think, yeah, so obviously it's also migration. This is also something that will take a lot of effort in your life. As a part of this, one of the things that I have been using lately is more the test-driven approach about being able to create test cases and run them as we go along, making it a lot easier for you as a developer to actually see what you have been producing, and then progressively update the test case. And the challenge that I often see is that some customers would use another tool, or for instance, like Postman or similar tools, that they would be creating these test cases, and with that, so when they're running it, they will be using that. But then once they hand it over to production or support, they may save these test cases in a way that will be possible for them to run, and there's different ways to do that. But you need to remember that test cases need to be actual and something that I can work on as a new developer without needing to figure out all of these different things. And this is why having a test-driven approach makes it easier, because you can create all your test cases. And once you are at the go live or project handover, you already have the test cases that you can run and make sure that they are relevant. But let me just show you how easy it is actually to create some test cases in the tool. So here we have an iFlow. I've created it specifically for this scenario. And we have two ways of creating test cases. We can either, if we have a recording here in an integration suite where it has a trace message, we can start it there, or we can go from the item here. And here we have the same iFlow. We will say create test case. We'll just give it a name for this, and then we'll add two payloads. And we will say, okay, we need an input for this iFlow, doesn't really matter, and an output. And this is all we need to create a test case. And then once I create here, I can create it. And now I have the test case. I can then run it. And this will then run it on the Integration Suite system. And we can see if it is producing the right result. So right now, I have not focused on creating a result that actually produces what we want. I've just focused on being able to send an incoming message to this flow. If we look here, we can see that a message has been processed, and it is also in trace mode, so we can actually see what's going on here. We can see we have now received a lot of messages, and because we did not specify all the different steps we needed, we will get a lot of unexpected steps. So what we just need to do is select it, update, and now we have a new test case that correlates to all the data that we already have. So we can run it again, and this will send the same message in, and now hopefully we will get all green. We can go through this and update the test cases to make sure that they always relevant. So then that, I guess, let's just wait till it's finished. So we can see it as fetching data. And that sometimes takes a little while because there's a lot of messages to pick up. So now we can see at least one of them was compared successfully. There was some in error here. We could look at the diff here, and this is something about a current time. We can just ignore that. So it is easy to go through all these different scenarios, compare it, and be able to continuously update all of the test cases so they become relevant. There's one more error here. What is this? This is the current time in date format. So just we can create this test case as we go along, making it easier for us to test and run this integration. So now we have a good test case. that we can use. The next thing is someone comes and say, hey, I really appreciate what you have done, but or this is a good start, but I need some extra requirements. And this could be that they want to change change some of the Groovy script, some of the mappings that has been made. And then you as an integration developer need to figure out, so how's this going on and how can we actually do this? In the latest release, we have tied the tool also to CPI Helper, which is a great tool, and I guess all integration developers would be using that to also make it easier for you to open these scripts and be able to run these test cases. So let's see here. In this, I will go and I will open my Groovy scripts here. I can see I have one that is called set and this is obviously not really readable. We can see here the JSON that is going in here, and we have this button up here that says open in Figaf, and this will then take us to Figaf where we can open an ID. We can select the test cases that we just created, and an instance of this where we have an input and an output message of this. So we can see all the content that is in here. We can run it. This will run it on the integration suite or CPI, a cloud integration system, and it will produce a result, and we can then compare, does it produce the correct data and what's going on here. So we have something about missing the current time in this. If we want to do a change in this, for instance, we want to reverse the postal code. I just copied this code. We can just add it to our Groovy. We can then run again. And now we can see we're getting this postal code in reverse order. Does make it really easy for us to check, does it actually work, and how can we work with this? We just select upload. This will then upload this artifact into the integration suite again, cloud integration. And now if we refresh this one, we would see that we have updated the code. So it is a seamless way of integrating or updating all of your integrations. And yeah, if you have questions, just put them into the chat and we'll try to answer those. So the only thing we just need to do is save as version and deploy. And now we can go through and we can update our test case again. We can see where we made some changes as a part of this process. And this will make it easier for us to understand what we have and what we're actually delivering. So that was us creating a test case, running it, updating it back into the tool. We need to, since we have a new version here in the Figaf, we need also to, in CPI, we need also to inform Figaf that there's a new one. So we have this synchronized that allows Figaf to take the content from this specific iFlow and update it. And this takes a little while. One of the things we can see here on these items is we can go in and check versions to see are there any differences between this. And this is just one of the things that makes it a lot easier for developers to go in and understand what someone has changed. So we didn't change the BPMN model, but you can also see the diff in code if you want to see the specific versions that has changed. So I guess we should probably have done it this way, diff to HTML. So now we can see it has added this specific version. So that's the Groovy editor. Yeah, obviously ChatGPT makes it easier. A lot of the scenarios that you come from here you can use it as a way to create the Groovy code. And I think a lot of developers would be using that for different scenarios. Yeah, but obviously there's a number of limitations and items that you need to be careful with it. Good. We have the same for XSLT, and I think one of the benefits of XSLT is that it is really designed to make it easy to map XML documents. Here, one of the challenges that I often find whenever I use XSLT is I need to run it, and I need to run it in a way that corresponds to the real target environment that I have. With here, we can select that it should be running on the Integration Suite system. That means you can use all the Java APIs and functions and mapping versions that is provided by the Integration Suite platform. All in all, making it a lot easier to develop this integration. Good. And obviously, we cannot talk about I don't know if this was the low code, there's also the ProCode. And this is the part where you would actually be delivering integrations in a more seamless way. And I don't think that this is something for all developers, because in most cases, the built-in editors would be sufficient. But there is the cases where you need someone to build some longer Groovy scripts, conversions of function libraries. These kind of things is a lot more complicated. And this gives you, some more specific versions that you need to be checking in. So what we have created is so once the Figaf tool knows about what is being changed in the iFlow, it will update its model, push it into the Git repository, so you always have a fully updated version in the Git repository. It is obviously a little challenging about what kind of workflow that you would need as a part of this. So if I pull here, I can see that I now get these updated. So the Figaf tool did update these things, and we can also see, if we look at the items, that what it is producing. Another item is that when you have created these tests, you can also create unit tests for your Groovy scripts, and that means you can run it, and you can then see what is actually being produced by this specific Groovy code, all without having to write any of the wrappers to set up the items. I guess we'll get into the CI/CD in a short while. There's a lot of different components as a part of this also. Good. Okay. One of the other part is, and this was where we started, this was our Devops tool. And here we have a lot of other components that's a part of this, making the transition a lot easier, making it possible to work with the integration. Because as I see Git, it is really a good tool, but the way it works in conjunction with a cloud integration is a little difficult, because you don't really have the same the same way of working, where you just have one version of an object in the cloud integration world, whereas in Git you can have multiple versions. So we wanted to make something that made it easier for you to manage these transports. So all of this is included in the tool. We talked about the Git repository. So let's say, okay, the business did ask for this change. We make the change, and now we want to transport it. So we will create a transport. We will select one of the landscapes that we'll be using. Here we are reusing the dev system also for QA, something that a lot of integration developers are already doing. But when they do it, they just copy the object, which means that you kind of lose all the governance that's a part of it. We will say create a ticket here. And here in the ticket, we can see we have the artifact. It can also find out all script collections, etc., that is being used here. We can reuse the test case we just created, and we can run it as a part of this. And now it will fail because we have not updated the test case based on the latest version of the tool. So you always need to go in and update this and make sure that all your test cases are relevant. So when the next developer gets to it, he can always pick up something that works without having to understand what's going on. And it will just take a little while. So there's an error here, and we would obviously need to check the diff, and we can see it is this reversing of the postal coder functionality. So we just need to update the test case again, rerun it, and then we are good to go. We don't want to wait for the running of a new test, so let's just start the transport. And in the transport, you then have the opportunity to configure specific items here. And we can see that this is actually new features since yesterday. We can actually see that the system is automatically searching and replacing some content here. Like the HANA QA is based on the information in the landscape. This is what we will be updating here. We can also see that this item here is being searched and replaced. So we don't, and the benefit here is you don't need to remember all the host names in the landscape. So you just need to say the dev host name is this, and then it will automatically remember all of this. We can then send it to approval. We have batch import, etc. And now as an improver, I can improve this. I know precisely what is being changed. I can compare what we have in our QA environment, what has been changed as a part of this. So quite a lot here. I can then approve it, and then I can import it. And obviously, this is something that you would split out to multiple different tasks. And that was all we needed to do to get this working. So now we have made a move-out change to QA. The next thing we want to do is obviously create a ticket to move it into production, and it'll just be the same all over again. And this is where it becomes a lot easier to manage the changes and freeing up the developer to focus on understanding business logic, understanding how to build new type of integrations. Yeah, so that's the main part of this. The virtual tenants, there's a lot of documentation that's going on that can also be produced and making it easier for developers to work on. There's a lot of different efforts also from the SAP side to deliver different ways for customers to work with CI/CD, Project Pipe, or there's a number of Jenkins templates. There's the Flash Pipe, and then I think a good place to start is Nuro's blog here about all his journey about setting up these things. And I do think that setting up a full CI/CD pipeline is something that will take some effort for you to understand. So what is it that you're actually able to deliver, and how can this be done? Good. I do have a session coming up in 2 weeks where we'll talk more about the migration journey and how you can actually work to migrate a lot more of your ICOs in a seamless way. No matter how you're dealing with your migration, I do think that having good processes to deliver the integration, being able to update the integration faster, will make a project like this migration a lot smoother, because developers can focus on the things that is most relevant for them as a part of this. Cool. There we have a number of different editions. So together with SAP for the migration scenario, we created this migration edition. It is a free one for 12 months that would allow customers to test migrations. It also have an assessment and an overview of your different integrations. It also contains trials of both the migration and the DevOps. And this is the DevOps that I've been talking about that give you all of these capabilities to make it easier for you to manage the integration. And yeah, freeing up resources so you can focus on other aspects of your integrations. It is pretty easy to get started. Like you can do a proof of concept in an hour to understand how does it to install the tool on your laptop or wherever you want, run it, connect it to a CPI system, create a transport, create a test case, run it, and being able to see how this can actually improve the way you're delivering integration. Obviously, for production, you want somewhere that is safe and where you can control it. We recommend running it in BTP Cloud Foundry because it is really easy to maintain. A lot of you anyway would have SAP credits that would allow you to run all of these different services. So yeah, if you go to figaf.com, you will be able to sign up for one of these free editions to manage the integrations. Now, time for Q&A. So yeah, so if you have questions, put them into the chat, and I'll try to cover those as we move along. So with B2B scenarios, we do have comparison of EDI messages and handling of these scenarios. Last week, we got the system working to be able to migrate PI message mappings with B2B add-on, the standard B2B mappings. I think we have like 3 gaps that we need to figure out how to close, and here the testing is part of it. We need some, because the way we are testing right now in the tool is that we are testing in a one iFlow, and when you're using the normal B2B flow, it is multiple different iFlows that you would be using, and this makes the setup a little more complicated. But right now you can send messages to the B2B flow and convert them, but we need give us a 1 or 2 months, then we will be able to have a way you can upload your EDI or your iDocs and compare it with a mapping result, and then you would have the full testing capabilities of also those messages. So that is, yeah, one of the things that is definitely also relevant, because yeah, EDI is an important thing, and it is really difficult to check. So on our PI side, we do have a lot of testings and validation for a couple of I cannot remember how many, but we do have a number of the different scenarios that we do support. EDI, X12, I think TraderCom and ENCom are supported, and doing comparison, because the thing is, you want to have the way to ignore certain element, as you saw here. I hope that answers the question. But for now, the tool is focused, at least in the CPI world, for Integration Suite or for normal messages. But if you have a flow that produces EDI messages, it will be able to check that is being created correctly. Other questions? That's a good one. Thanks.
Excellent, Daniel. Thank you very much. I have a couple of questions, actually, regarding your demo. So, for example, you show us how to create a test case, right? And I just want to validate my understanding. There is no need to change our existing integration flows, right? In the end, it seems like the tool leverages the tracing mechanism that's available out of the box in cloud integration, and based on that, like it's able to get, for example, source and target message and all the steps in between. Is that correct?
Yes. You don't need to create any changes to the iFlow. There, we do create changes of the iFlow. For instance, if you start with a non-HTTP adapter, like a file adapter or SFTP adapter, we cannot send messages to that one. So instead, the Figaf tool will create a new version of that iFlow, send the message in, and then being able to compare this. Also, if you want to mock endpoints, the tool will also, instead of calling SuccessFactor, it will call Figaf, and then Figaf will calculate based on the response what you're supposed to be getting when you're sending this message. So there's no need for users to consider a lot of these scenarios.
Okay, that makes sense. And also, I really like that transport mechanism that you have, but that's a transport mechanism that is built into the tool, right? It doesn't use an external service like the cloud transport management that's part of BTP.
Yes. We started out long time ago when the transport could not transport or only could transport packages, which was a little of a limitation. So we added capability to transport individual iFlows. And I guess there's the transport and there's the configuration part. That is two separate items that needs to be updated as a part of this.
Okay, that's pretty cool because yeah, it was actually quite nice to see like the issue created and all the different parts to it and how it sort of keeps track of it. Yeah, that was very nice. I don't think we have any additional questions. That's it. So yeah, well,
Cool.
you know what? Thank you very much for sharing your knowledge and expertise as part of the session. I also want to thank the viewer, for joining the live event, or maybe the recording if you watch it a bit later today or some other day. There is plenty for everyone to learn as part of the Devops, so make sure to check out other sessions that are part of the event. Thank you very much. See ya.
Bye. Thanks.